So Parshas Vayechi is actually the 12th and final Torah portion of the entire Sefer Bereshis, or book of Genesis. And something that I like to do in reading through the weekly Torah portion of the Parsha is kind of categorize it into different topics. I find that it just helps me go through the story and piece along different lessons and kind of create like a visual and a better understanding of context and also what's actually going on. So in terms of an overview for Parshas Vayechi, when we start out in the Parsha, we start out with really like the details of Yaakov's entire life, and it kind of creates this understanding that we're really near the end of something. It feels very final, it feels very complete, and there's almost like this understanding of death approaching. So basically the first section that I'd categorized this Parsha in is really that Yosef promises his father Yaakov that he will not be buried in Egypt. So there's this exchange between Yaakov and Yosef where Yaakov is asking and begging or requiring that Yaakov in fact does not, that Yaakov himself is not buried in Egypt. And Yosef commits to that promise. So that's kind of like where we're starting. And then we move into Yaakov actually blesses Yosef's sons, Ephraim and Manasseh. And then he blesses all of his sons. So he goes from blessing his grandsons together, and then he goes through different blessings and kind of like expectations or hopes, some more vague than other, for each of his own individual sons. And then ultimately Yaakov passes away and he is buried. So that takes us into a transition between like a kind of like a shift in familial leadership from Yaakov to Yosef. And Yosef now kind of has this seat at his family table, but his brothers kind of begin to worry that there's going to be a lot of regret and resentment towards him, and Yaakov promises not to take revenge. So we've kind of seen this transition where we start out with kind of like Yaakov setting the scene for the beginning of the end of his life, and kind of this transition to Yosef, and ultimately at the very end of the Parsha and really Sefer Bereshis, Yosef dies himself. So the entire Parsha is really devoted to like a sense of closure and blessings, but really wraps everything up. And obviously there are different interactions that take place between everyone, but really there's this sense of closure and finality at the end of the entire Sefer Bereshis.